Hey everyone, welcome. This is Derlene Hirtz here with You Empowered Services. We are the unstoppable experts here. We want to welcome you to our podcast today, and we experience the unstoppable expert in our guests. And today we have Jennifer Bardot with us, and we're going to share a little bit about her story. But first, I want to ask you, the listener, where do you see yourself as an unstoppable expert? You see, once we establish that, we do become unstoppable. Where is it that you're the expert in your life? And it could be in your life, in your business. You get to fill in that blank. It's, once we break the boundaries of our passion, it becomes our mission. And that's really what makes us unstoppable. We talk to entrepreneurs, professionals, and business owners. They all join me and share with you their success of unstoppability. Our goal is to inspire, motivate, educate, and share the struggles of our path to unstoppable success. Listen, y'all, we're real and raw here. We want you to hear it all so that we can help you. Today, you get to meet Jennifer. I met Jennifer when I was speaking about 2.5 years ago. I could feel her energy, true story, could feel her energy across the room, and just had to meet and learn all about her. That's what I do, is learn all the things, right? And what was so fun is by the time that we actually got to sit down, I don't know if you remember this, Jennifer, but by the time we actually got to sit down and talk about it, the pandemic had hit and you were at home with the boys. You added teacher to your title, I believe, yes. By that point. And the boys were running around and I got to experience family life with you, which, really what could be better than that? So I want to thank you for joining me today. And I'd love for you to share with the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll get down to some real fun conversation.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast today. It's an honor. And I remember I was starstruck by you when you got up at Gateway to Dreams and spoke and shared about your dreams and vision of wanting to meet Oprah Winfrey. And I was super inspired by you. So I'm excited to be here today. And a little bit about me. So obviously I'm a mom of 3 boys. I am a publisher now. So I took on a new hat during COVID. So I'm a publisher and author of Owning Your Grit, and now a Deconstructing Grit collection, which ended up being a bestseller internationally in 8 countries with Owning Your Grit. I have an undergraduate degree in business administration, 2 master's degrees in secondary education, counseling, and private practice therapy. And I hold certificates in leadership from Daring to Lead through Brene Brown, Cora Women in Leadership through Focus St. Louis, and St. Louis Leadership LSL. I was accepted into the She Leads program when I made a switch to Willis Towers Watson, which I'm now a consultant for health and benefits. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, over in Sunset Hills by Lallmeyer Sculpture Park. I was named top business banker and 6 months into my career while I was at Enterprise Bank and Trust when we first met. And I was named top 100 person to know by Small Business Monthly to help grow your business. So I truly love helping people and supporting people and trying to find creative ways to add value into the community. So I serve on multiple boards as volunteering my time within the startup community for financial expert at Washington University. I'm a mentor for St. Louis University, the IMT program, and I'm also on the pitch committee for I-10. I'm also supporting a startup, which is in the nonprofit space called the St. Louis Fashion Alliance. And I am the chair for Cycle Nation. Last year, we had a fundraising goal of 30,000, and this year our goal is 60,000. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. So what does the Cycle Nation, what does that support?
So my passion for Cycle Nation with the American Heart Association is bringing awareness to stroke. So my grandfather that I never met, my mom's father, passed away at 42 with a stroke. So strokes can happen to anybody at any age, depending upon your health, your weight, your fitness. It happens. So I just wanted to bring more awareness to stroke, and the American Heart Association does amazing things. So they asked me to chair this event, and it was an amazing event last year. So I said yes to this year as well. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, it just came to me. Do you have a website where you have all these things so we can find?
We do. And I would absolutely love support. So obviously that's a tremendous goal, $60,000. And right now during, this time of maybe having a recession, it's been really difficult to try to fundraise with teams. So teams are made up of 4 people, and we each have a goal of raising $250 per person. But if you're not a cyclist, these are stationary bikes. It's an amazing event down at the ballpark. So they put all the bikes down on the Live Nation turf at Ballpark Village, and we have 2 cyclist instructors from First Form who will be giving, high energy excitement, and it's just a great night. So even if you're not a cyclist, you can still help fundraise or just purchase a ticket for your drinks to help everybody that evening, just with the energy and the excitement. But yeah, there's a website I can share.
Okay, good. So we'll do that, and then I'll make sure that it's in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, great. That just is really, I don't think we talked about that before, and I'm super excited about that. I very much enjoy biking, and
Oh, awesome.
you attracted my interest. Again,
Woo,
imagine
love
that.
Love it.
So share with the audience your goals, your dreams, your I call it a bag, your big ass goal in life, and
Yeah.
what that's going to look like for you.
I've always kind of just been a headstrong little girl trying to figure out how to support others with this overly optimistic vision. So that's always been me. So right now I'm really trying to help our community understand what grit's all about, because through learning tools about grit, it can improve their life satisfaction and provide hope and inspiration in their life. So my big ass goal is to turn deconstructing grit into this powerhouse for people that need to learn how to retrain their brain and have an optimistic and positive life. So I would love deconstructing grit to become a worldwide business that people can learn about how to understand to incorporate grit within their own life. Obviously, I'm a mom of 3 boys, so just trying to find ways to explore our bond and go on adventures. And I share with you traveling. I'd love to be able to take them all to Hawaii or, over to Europe and just see different parts of the world. Just last night, I was talking with one of my friends, and she's very intentional about doing that with her children, because you're never stuck. There's always a different city to explore. And I think when we have that open-minded perspective, it allows innovation and creativity to just arise. And essentially that's where deconstructing grit came, was from a vacation I took in Colorado. I had an epiphany of how to help people. So, but my biggest goal is to constantly empower specifically women too, to help them find their voice, get through difficult times, and realize that they're not alone.
I love it. You certainly had me at Retrain Your Brain, because that's exactly what I do, right? With my
Yes,
my
right.
training is, and what I do know for sure is that it is 100% possible to retrain our brain in areas of our life that no longer serve us, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm super, super excited that that is your give back to the world, because as we have talked about previously, women get to help women.
Yes.
As we've discussed, in your experience, you witnessed women at top condemning other women, not supporting them.
Yeah.
Share with us a little bit about that.
So I don't know what's up with that, but I've definitely seen a power imbalance where, women rise, but we need to all rise together. It shouldn't be this mean girl club where we're cutting other women down. We need to figure out how to lift them up and bring them with us. So I'm very intentional about that. And I love highlighting and shining the light on women who are doing just that. So in my experience, I've worked really hard, but there was a cap in regards to I could never go past this level because of X, Y, and Z. So I called that out and tried to figure out a way to get past that hurdle, because I'm always about accepting the challenge and figuring out an alternative path to get to my goal. And there was no other alternative goal. It was almost like, hey, this woman had made it to this position, but there was no getting past her, because maybe there was intimidation, maybe there was fearfulness of me taking her position, but I wasn't okay with it. So I had to find a different path to then lead and take that journey. But I'm not sure what that is about women. I feel like every time I've learned something about someone else, it's been able to shine a light on myself and my own insecurities. So I just feel like whenever those kind of opportunities arise, it's a moment for us to reflect and understand more about ourselves and what's igniting that fear within themselves. So hopefully she did that.
Yep. And that is awesome. And you just said something that taught me so much about who you are. Because when you say, I don't understand that, one of the things that we talk about in neuroscience is you can't see something in someone that doesn't exist in you. And
Ah,
that level, I'm going to just call it out as jealousy, my word, my choice of words. And that doesn't exist in you. So it doesn't make sense to you.
yeah.
So there's just no understanding of it. However, what you did was thought, well, that's where she is. I'm going to have some grit and move beyond that. And so I know this started early on in your life, in your
Yeah.
education, right? What made you so resilient? What made you such a, in the very best term, a fighter? Share with everyone about that.
So my hero is Albert Einstein, because I think he's just this brilliant person. And I quoted him again and again in my chapter in growth that I'm publishing here shortly. But I think he says it best, because you cannot judge a frog by its ability to climb a tree or to go swimming. Like people put things in boxes and they can't look outside of those perspectives. So for me, when I turned 9 years old, and through reflection, I was able to gain this perspective. I didn't understand where my grit came from, but that was a really difficult year for me, because I lost my great grandma, my grandma Pigeon. I lost my grandpa to heart disease. I was hit by a train, ran over by a train, almost died. And then I was also diagnosed with an IEP, which made the next, up until this point, really difficult with understanding and comprehending just academia and trying to figure out how to learn. And obviously, as women, generally the stereotype is women are great academically, we're talented readers, we have all of this ability. Well, that wasn't me. And this might be why I connect more with men, and thinking differently from a different perspective. But yeah, I gained a lot of grit when I was in my third grade year, because I was diagnosed with an IEP that forever kind of debilitated me, because it put on this new cap for me that I didn't ask for. And I was told that I was never going to graduate high school. So I wore this cap that wasn't right for me, and accepted that as my life and my livelihood, until I obviously had my mom as my backbone to push me out of that and take that cap off and help me see life through new lenses and evaluate my IQ and show me I was just as brilliant and capable as Einstein. But it took me a while to actually acknowledge that. But I look at that IEP now as a gift, because it's given me a new perspective, to find alternative paths, to never just look at things as one box. And if it doesn't fit, it's not a right fit. I have a very open mind and an open perspective. And I've learned to have that grit and resiliency to find alternative perspectives to get to that same goal. And it might take me twice as long as it would with someone else. But yeah, essentially, I developed my grit as a very young age, but became very resilient. So
Yeah, I love that part of your story. Being a former educator,
yeah,
labeling kids is something that I really resist 100%, because you do put them smack dab in a box.
yes,
And
yep,
you run across people who will not allow them to get out of that box.
yes.
And thanks be to God for your mom, right?
She's a strong woman, and she's the reason why I participate in Cycle Nation, to give back to my mom, because I can't imagine growing up without a father at 16 and putting myself through night class and looking at it through her perspective. She is the grittiest person I've ever met. So I'm very thankful that she was my mother and is my mother. So yeah.
So what would you say along the path up until this point in your life has been some of your struggles? And let's kind of talk about, we talked about being a woman in business.
Yeah.
And I would love to, I'm going to bring this word up and have you share, because I know that it is something that so many of us experience, some of the struggles along the way professionally that you have just really, really overcame. And one of the things that we've talked about is imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So share that.
Yeah. So I think, from my perspective, I can't talk for all women, but it took me a while to be comfortable in my own skin, and to know when I can speak up and share my value, which is a different perspective. So for me, I had imposter syndrome a long. I mean, I've had various careers too. So I've worked in nonprofit, I've worked in education, I've worked in corporate, I've worked in my own small business and family business. So seeing all these different ways that people show up has also given me a new lens. So when I transitioned from corporate to family business, that was a new perspective because of the family dynamics, I had to kind of cower down and have a different role. And it wasn't based on gender, it was just based on age and wisdom. When I jumped over to education, it was a different perspective. There was some women gender role conflict there, but I learned to adapt and to kind of understand my role and how much I could speak. And I also think that it has a level to do with confidence as well, because I was understanding myself along the way. But when I jumped over to enterprise, I had just had enough. And I realized that I needed to really have a voice to advocate for others, and then to also show them that they could have a voice in a place as well. So I grew up with a father that was in construction, and obviously construction, those stereotypes still exist where it's very male dominated. Banking's very male dominated. So for the longest time, I really didn't have a voice. I was pretty timid. And then I slowly gained more confidence along the way to have a bigger voice. And I think the biggest voice that I've ever had along the way was really when I decided to publish Owning Your Grit and really step into that spotlight, because I had stepped in spotlight when I was a kid with dancing and modeling and all of this performance stuff, but never with my voice and my brain and my abilities. And at Enterprise, I secured several speaking engagements. I was speaking quite a bit, and I'm doing that now in my new role as well. But I think through those lessons, I gained a lot of confidence along the way. And I saw other women who I saw as leaders doing those same things. And I think that's really huge, because if we see somebody that we respect and model their behavior, we're essentially going to be doing the same for those behind us. And I think that's really important. And I think for me, I don't know if it's how I look or what it is, but I was doubted in the past. And I say this in my first book, Owning Your Grit. Who cares what the naysayers say? As long as you believe in yourself, you have the power to do whatever it is within your control. But
I love that, because a woman who's going to listen to this just saw her face pop up again and again and again. And I used to think that, oh my gosh, nobody else could feel this way. I'm probably alone on this island all by myself. There's no way that anybody could ever have these doubts and blah, 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 blah. And one of the things that you said to me was, one of the things that attracted you to me was my confidence, how I stood up there and I was so confident. Side note, I was probably shaking inside, right? And it's just so interesting how sometimes, and this is why I think your work is so important, Jennifer, because even you saying that to me, I've got 20 something years on you, right? Even you saying that to me, saying I admired the confidence in you, then allowed me to step out of imposter into Derlene and own that, right?
yes.
And had you, if we don't say those things to other women, we can never build them up and give them the confidence that they need.
Yeah.
And some women might say, well, I don't need anybody telling me whatever. It is so nice to still hear it. And I admire strong women who have lived from day one. Your opinion of me is none of my business. That was not me. That was absolutely not me. I was so concerned what other people thought and how other people felt that it became a place of stagnation in my life, right? And I think that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing now, is because I got to have all that internal growth, which brings me to when you were saying that you were doing the dancing and the modeling and all of that. I see that as all exterior things to build you up, right? But at some point, what I heard you say is that you had to go internally in order to really create the growth that you can own, your true beauty, right? I mean, you are a beautiful woman on the outside, and you are every bit of that on the inside. And so many women do not own that because they are so brought up with the external, right? So I just think that is absolutely beautiful. And when you were talking about modeling who you are to bring the people behind you up. Neuroscience reveals that very thing is that when you can model after success, somebody who is successful, then you can reach their level of success in about 50% of the time.
Wow.
Because they're just opening the door and laying the foundation for you, and you don't have to hit the rocks, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then we can turn around and say, now you come with me, right?
Yes.
And I'll bring you along. And I absolutely just adore you, because that is so who you are. And the other thing that I want to share is that you have used all of your positions as the vessel to changing the world. And I'm just going to, and correct me, okay, but
Sure.
Working at Enterprise Leasing was the JOB. That was your vessel to really go out and help other women. And
Enterprise Bank was when I really started advocating for women. I saw the need when I was at Eden Theological Seminary, because I was supporting different groups and different denominations and religions. But I studied the financial wealth gap, and I was able to find a need for women and minorities. And that was my calling why I made the move. I had worked in banking in my graduate degree, or while completing my graduate degree, but I didn't really have a passion for money or finances. I had a passion for people and making sure that they understood that there was an empathetic banker there that would break it down with no judgment. And I thought that was really important. So yes, that is when I became really strategic and focused on what my mission was and why I was here. So,
yeah, one of the things that you shared is you actually fundraised to help others be able to leave without student debt.
Yes, I did.
I raised that.
It was so cool. And I didn't even know I was capable until I started doing it. This is my first role stepping into the academic world, running the financial aid department at Eden Theological Seminary. And it was something that I never even knew I was capable of. And that's kind of a trend with me. When I went to grad school, I didn't think I was capable to get accepted. I got accepted, made dean list, graduated a semester early with only $15,000 loan debt. When I took the job at Enterprise, I didn't think I was capable. I'd never really been in sales before. I became, vice president, senior business banker, made president circle. There's all this self-doubt in our heads. And it's interesting because when I stepped in this role, I was committed to making sure that I was going to change lives. And I was going to try to find an alternative way to pay for student loans. So our future pastors and ministers wouldn't be intimidated by pursuing their passion with an obstacle of student loan debt. And I secured over $200,000 worth of student loan debt was alleviated because I secured those in scholarships. And that was just 1 year worth of work. And it was so amazing because I saw the impact firsthand from these pastors who would come and thank me for changing their lives and finding alternative solutions to offset their debt. But then I saw a greater need because I was only able to help. I think there was like maybe 200, I think it was like 175 students enrolled. So I saw that I needed to take this to larger population, which is why I stepped into business banking to truly support our small businesses in St. Louis. So
I love it.
Yeah.
One of your mottos, like my motto is, the moment you get comfortable is the moment you need to start looking for your next level of growth.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And John Maxwell says this, change is inevitable, but growth is an option. I've always chosen growth because I love a challenge. And when I know that I've kind of gotten to my point where it's going to be more mundane and routine, I need to go because I'm going to get bored and I need to find my new passion and purpose. So I don't know what it is, but that's usually how I've always decided to take my next journey, my next step.
Well, I think what it is your gift to our world. Because if you don't answer that call, right? I read a book a long time ago by Max Lucado, and I can't even tell you the name of the book, but there was one line in that whole book that changed my life. And he said, God loves you right where you are. He just doesn't want you to stay there. And to me, that's the whole point of self-acceptance. Love ourselves right where we are. Just 100%, just love who you are in this moment. and
Yes.
recognize you're not called to stay there.
No.
You are called to grow in
Yes.
whatever that way is. And as both you and I know, all of our growth comes in a valley. So when we prepare ourselves for growth, we are really preparing ourselves to face the next obstacle and look at it as only feedback, never failure, right?
Right.
And when we can then come out of that valley to stand on the mountaintop celebrating, as I say,
Yeah.
then that does equal our next level of growth, which every time we grow, then we get to help others grow.
Exactly.
And I absolutely love that about life. You know, I turned 60 2 weeks ago now. This has been like the longest birthday celebration of my life. Just sort of one thing after another. And in turning 60 and leading up to that, I kept thinking about something that you said. Again, like I told you, I'm many years ahead of you in age, not so much in the really owning my womanhood, my strong woman. And one of the gifts about experiencing this next decade is that I now know that I am called to call, I'm just going to name it for what it is, bullshit on women and men who think that they have to stop living, they have to stop growing, that we're done.
Yeah, no.
I am like, oh my gosh, you've been gifted with wisdom, experience, knowledge, all the things. And I believe now is when you're called to, I just don't want you to stay where you are.
Yeah.
Go out and use it to change the world.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, just like you said, if we stay in our box, we can't help the people that we're called to help. It just can't happen.
Yeah, it sounds like those folks need to be mentors, because just like you were talking about, it'll help those behind them advance that much further. 50%, like you said. I think that's incredible. And for me, I think my growth has come from struggles and challenges and adversities, but I've always given myself time to heal and let it go so then I can move on to my next thing to grow. And I think that has truly been how I've ignited my passion and my spark, healing myself along the way, because life is hard. It's not always, rose gold glasses, or however they say that. But I think as an overly optimistic child, that definitely gave me an advantage, but constantly retraining your brain, healing, growing, accepting the new challenge just keeps you motivated. And that's what life's all about. We're only here for so long. So utilize this time wisely and make an impact and change lives. So.
Yeah, 100%. That is absolutely fabulous. I think that is a beautiful, beautiful note to start winding down.
Sure.
And one of the things that one thing I wanted to add to what you said is you just helped me realize why I love working with 20 and 30-year-olds in my trainings, is because I know that the wisdom and the experience that I have, I get to share with them so that they don't have to have as many bumps in the road, along with the training itself. It's just amazing. And it has really given me energy to show up even better. I say show up in a space of excellence. Perfection never works. It's just a knee dropper, right?
Yeah.
And so the whole goal is to show up in excellence and know that as a person of excellence, we get to give ourselves grace, we get to give ourselves growth, and we get to give ourselves to other people so that they then can experience grace and growth as well. So
just like you said, real and raw. And I feel like gratitude and grace is a whole nother piece that is so important for people to focus on, because if we get hung up in our mess, in our head trash, how do we ever allow grace and gratitude and growth to truly occur? So, yeah.
Yes, which is the difference between us and, I'm going to say, 99% of the rest of the world, is because they do get caught up in the refusal of grace and the refusal of growth. And so what we say is what you feed grows, right? So when you constantly focus on your inadequacies or the state of the economy or whatever that is, then that does become your reality, because it's all you think about.
Yes.
And it's just such a stagnation, and so many people live it because they don't believe that they can truly change, or that F word, right? Fear.
Yeah.
They allow fear to get in their way. And instead of going, well, I don't know what's on the other side, but I'm super curious to see it. And so let's go, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the majority of the world. And that's one of the exact reasons why I love doing this podcast is because when we are real and raw, then we can share and others can see themselves through us. So that gives them permission. So understand you have permission to grow in our
Yeah.
world.
That's
So
why I did these books too, because I feel like so many of us hurt behind closed doors. And if you can read these stories of women who have gone through difficult times, but come out on the other side, it's motivating, it's encouraging, it's inspiring, and it helps alleviate that feeling of loneliness and that
100%.
you're the only one like this. And that's why I love Einstein so much. He helped me. And I always wanted to be like Barbara Walters. I thought she was a badass. So I was like, like little and mighty, but had so much courage to get into a conversation and have those really difficult, like you said, calling people out. And I just love that. So, yeah.
That's great. Well, share with us some ways that we can reach you. And then I'm going to also put them in the show notes. And I also wanted you to talk about your next book and any way that you want to invite people to for you to consider them being in it, that sort of thing. So please feel free to share whatever it is you'd like to share.
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Jennifer Bardot. I also have a group that I run for promoting connections and networking with women. It's called Thought Partners. So we can get you involved in there if you're a Missouri female leader. And I am launching Growth in the Deconstructing Grit series on August the 2nd. And actually all the proceeds from the ebook launch are going to be donated to the American Heart Association for Cycle Nation. And then Growth is going to be launching January 23rd, 2023. And I'm currently building out Intention and Tenacity. So if those words resonate with you, please reach out to me. And I'd love to have a conversation with you to see if it's a fit or not. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed. I actually think that we could sit and talk forever and ever and ever because we just have so many things that we could share with the world. And for now, this will be our first conversation because we didn't even get into Thought Partners. The stories I have that is amazing.
Yeah,
You have a
that's
huge
just
success story.
that was something that came out of COVID, and I value community. And when everything was kind of blown to smithereens, it was like, well, we still need to come together and we need to support each other. And you don't have to have a car; you have to have internet. That's all we have to do. We meet once a month virtually for an hour, and I bring in different speakers, and it's all free. And it's a great place to connect and learn and grow.
Yep. So my tag question is, where do you see yourself as an unstoppable expert?
I don't know if I'm ever an expert of anything, but I
So.
know I'm a believer in people and I truly love to help people. So I think I'm a connector, and that's my gift. I'm a connector and I'm a passion igniter. I help people see themselves and all that they are and all that they can bring into this world.
And how cool is it that we met at Gateway to Dreams?
I know, right?
With that sweet alone.
Yeah.
Well, have a beautiful day. And I'm just so appreciative that you joined us here. And I look forward to our future conversations. And
Thank you so much for having me.
thank you.